Hello and welcome to this special episode dedicated to Samantha Bernardo. This episode had to happen. Currently, I am on a little trip right now, but I had to make time for this because I knew I would regret not dedicating a special episode just to Samantha. If you guys follow my channel and are subscribed, which I hope that you are, and if you're not, please take a moment just to hit that subscribe button and that notifications bell. You would know that Samantha has always been one of my favorites ever since I started covering Binibining Pilipinas back in 2019 was the first time I recapped that. She's been one of my faves and I've always been rooting for her and cheering for her, and I was cheering for her this year, and then suddenly she was announced as Miss Grand International Philippines, or Miss Philippines Grand International, however they like to address that name. And it makes sense because the Miss Grand International pageant is happening right now. Contestants are arriving and things are kicking off. Of course, we have to talk about Samantha and how I think that she's gonna do, but also we're gonna talk about some other contestants and some other things that I've noticed. So stick around till the end for that part. But first, let's talk about Samantha. One really cool thing that I saw that they have done for her, because of everything that's going on right now and it's not possible to hold this huge send-off, they still threw her a virtual send-off party. And gosh, I wish I would have done that when I was Miss Montana USA. When I had that title, the closest family member around me was my aunt, and all of my friends were across the state in Missoula. So they were literally about 6 hours from me, and I wasn't about to make all my friends come by and like, hey guys, come around for my send-off party. So I wish I really would have thought of a virtual send-off, and I want to mention that because I know that that could be an option for a lot of different contestants, and you may be one. So I just needed to throw that out there. I thought they did a really good job. Some of the stuff that they did in this send-off was feature former title holders, and they showed them wishing her good luck for the competition, and I thought that was really special. And because a lot of them have all competed together before, they know Samantha on a personal level and they're truly cheering for her. And that's one of the reasons that I really needed to do this episode, is because Samantha has been so persistent, and like many contestants have, but she's one of those ones that always stuck out to me, and it gets me emotional thinking about it, because you truly cheer for a contestant when you feel a part of their journey. And that's how I felt with her, just watching her and just seeing her grow and seeing how hard she's worked and how much she wants this opportunity to represent the Philippines internationally, and she finally has that. And I think that just because she's not representing Philippines at Universe, which is a system that I'm more familiar with, that it's still important to have this episode and to dedicate it to her, because I'm super excited for her and totally cheering for her. So they did this other episode that I want to mention, and she was interviewed on another channel by a former Miss Grand Philippines, Nicole, and it was a really, really great, fun episode, and we got to hear a little bit more about Samantha and about her preparation. And she brought up a few really key points that I think are going to play a factor in how she's going to perform. The first thing is that she's a folk dancer. So I want to hear from all my fellow dancers. Comment dance down below if you're watching this and you dance and you also compete in pageants. Please excuse the vacuum. The vacuum. Okay, we just have to keep going. I literally cannot film one episode, not one, without an interruption. Yeah, just gets me. She's a dancer, and if you are a dancer, you understand that if you're going from dance to pageants, that sometimes it's hard to truly be yourself on stage, because as a performer, you are used to playing a role, and that's usually your on-stage identity. So when you stand up on a pageant stage and you're just being yourself and representing yourself, sometimes I felt that I was lost and I didn't know what to do. I was like, how do I be myself? And that's because when you're a dancer, what we're always taught to do is to fulfill this role and play this character. So what happens when they take all of that away? Well, we're still trying to perform instead of being our true, authentic self, whoever that is on stage. So she talked about that she is a true performer. And I think that in the past that probably hurt her performances. She wasn't able to be totally present. But in this case, it may help her a little bit. Because what I learned from watching Miss Grand International for Thailand was There's a lot of performance in the show, and a lot of things are over the top in comparison to other pageants like Miss World, Miss International, Miss Universe. So the contestants really show up, and there is room for more of that performance and that projection on stage. So I think if Samantha plays her cards right, that she'll be able to essentially transfer that dancer energy onto the pageant while still, you know, being herself. So that is something that I think that can be an asset of hers going in. But she also mentioned in her interview that she's an overthinker, and I think that that also can come from being a dancer and being an onstage performer. It causes you to be very self-aware of yourself, because if you're a dancer, you'll know that when you're in rehearsals and you're in tech week and you're on stage in performances, you're constantly getting feedback about yourself. You're always getting feedback about your technique and about how you're performing. And I think honestly that helps dancers in pageants, because dancers are already used to hearing constructive criticism, and the criticism has nothing to do with you as a person. It just has to do with your performance. So dancers, that is something that can be one of your strengths. Considering that, she talked about being this overthinker, and I get that, because as an onstage performer, you're always like, well, how do I fix this? How do I make it better? How do I be my absolute perfect, best, ideal self, like constantly? And sometimes that actually gets in the way of you being your best authentic self, because it's all you're thinking about. You're obsessing and you're overthinking. And I definitely felt that in the past. So she says that that's something that has affected her, and that she is concerned about the onstage question round. So that's interesting. I haven't seen her do an onstage question for a while now, so I really don't know. Has she really grown with this skill? Because it is possible, friends. I've seen contestants stay the same, stay where they are and not improve, and then really disappoint at the next level. But then I've seen contestants that I'm like, who is this woman? Because she put in the work. So I'm really hoping that she had time to do that, because she wasn't just randomly announced exactly how I said she was. She was already preparing for Binibining Pilipinas. So she was already in pageant prep mode, and now suddenly, because she knew the title that she had and was appointed as, that now she really had a clearer direction to go for her preparation. So fortunately, it wasn't like they called her up out of the blue, hey Samantha, are you available to represent the Philippines? Like, that would have been a really bad situation. So thankfully she was already preparing for a pageant, and I must say she looks incredible. So far she's just meeting all of my expectations. Yes, very excited. Is she meeting yours? Tell me what you think down below. I'm taking a quick break just because I want to remind you, if you have never competed in a pageant before, or if you have and you need extra help, I do have a resource for you. You can click the description, you'll find a link to my free pageant prep course. Check it out. As I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, I want to talk about a couple other things that I have noticed watching this. So I am not extremely familiar with Miss Grand International. This is one of those pageants that I have barely started getting into and learning about. So please keep that in mind watching this episode. But one thing I have seen is that Miss Grand Thailand is incredibly confident, and I saw her during press conferences. I saw how kind and welcoming she came off as. We would never really know unless we actually meet someone, but I'll say that my impression of her is that she's really kind and really welcoming, and I love that. And her confidence really shines through, and she knows how to put on a show on stage. So to me, I could see Thailand winning this year, but there's also a few other queens that I've been noticing, one of which is Indonesia. So I really feel like Asia is bringing it this year, and I've seen so much work go into her preparation, as well as with Samantha, even in her short amount of time. And those are the main ones that I was looking at. And then I noticed Myanmar recently, and that brings me to my next point. It was interesting to me, because the pageant this year is being held in Thailand, that Samantha and Myanmar both wore arrival outfits that are inspired by traditional Thai attire. And this reminded me of who? Can you guess? Can you guess before I say it? Comment it. I'll give you a second. Can you think about it? Who do you think wore a Thai-inspired outfit when they showed up at the pageant? Who else? None other than Catriona Gray. So it's so interesting because Catriona has inspired so many title holders in so many different ways. And I don't know if Samantha is working with the same team as Catriona was, but it would be interesting to know that. So if you actually know that, then please comment that down below because I'm really curious about that. But I think it was kind of nice. Like, they looked great. Samantha just looked stunning in this outfit. I mean, it was so beautiful. I just love the piece that she has like on her ear or in her hair. I don't really know. How is that attached? I'm not sure. I just love the attire that she was wearing. And she's someone that's really, really stuck out to me. But like I said, because I'm new to following this pageant, I'm not familiar with all of the people. But like I said, because I'm not as familiar with this system and I'm learning about it right now, I'm not as familiar with all of the fan favorites. So these are just contestants that, for me, when I've seen them online, not only have I seen a lot of them, but what I have seen of them has stuck out to me. Whether I'm right or I'm wrong, whatever it is, let me know what your opinions are about this. And friends, remember, we are here to support the contestants, so please keep your comments really positive and uplifting. If you love someone, you can say it, and if you absolutely dislike a contestant, we don't need to be putting that out there, right? Like, let's be mindful of our words. So thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. I'm totally rooting for Samantha. I'm super excited for her that she finally has her chance to represent the Philippines, and because I have watched her journey for so long, I'm just really, really proud of her, and I wish her the best this year. So good luck to all the contestants though, and I'm gonna work on watching this pageant and doing a recap of it, so stay tuned for that.